Hello, lovely humans. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I'm Heather. I have been on a health and fitness journey since 2020. We've lost a little, we've gained a little. Our mental health has been on a yo-yo, but we're doing the dang thing bit by bit. Given that it's January, I know there's a pretty good chance that a lot of you guys are starting on a fitness or a health journey for like the first time ever. So I wanted to kind of give you a little guide for what the heck to do when you're just beginning. So since you clicked on this video, chances are you're pretty much already doing step one, which is just to start. For a lot of people, that's the hardest part. It's, I'll do it next month, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next year.
He's lying.
All you need to do really is do it in the next minute.
Wait, what?
It doesn't mean you have to make insane changes. It just means you need to start to committing to making your life healthier and hopefully happier. For those of us who are either overweight or out of shape, there's a reason. My reason is that I'm a sugar addict through and through. I want you guys to take a second and kind of look at what your diet is. Look at what your exercise level is. Take a second to figure out what the main problem is. Are you a couch potato? Are you a food addict? Do you go out to eat like every other meal? Obviously, for some of us, that answer might be yes for more than one thing, but I want you to take a moment of introspection to figure out what is at the root of you gaining weight. For me, that sugar addiction goes strong. There are very much issues with emotional eating, and I'll be struggling. But I'm doing something about it, and I'm assuming you are too, because that's why you're here. To change your life, you really need to figure out what it is that made you so out of shape in the first place, so you know how to address it.
There are all kinds of things in life that can cause us to be unhealthy or unfit. A big example, of course, would be a desk job where we are sedentary for most of the day. Many people also tend to overeat or eat bad foods in response to trauma. Let's face it, a lot of us are most definitely emotional eaters, and sometimes we have major life changes like a new injury or a disability that makes things so much harder.
When you guys are first losing weight, there's going to be a ton of information in a ton of different places and a ton of different diet options. Just know that whatever you choose shouldn't be for the sole purpose of losing weight. You need to make a lifestyle change. So if whatever diet or changes you make are not something that you can be doing for the rest of your life, honestly, I wouldn't recommend wasting your time on it. Because when you don't choose something that's sustainable, yeah, you still might be able to get the weight off, but there's a pretty good chance that you're going to gain it back anyways. So find something that works consistently. So in terms of weight loss, it's really just a matter of calories in and calories out. You got to burn more calories than you eat. There's a certain number of calories that you burn every single day just by existing, and that's known as your basal metabolic rate.
Without going too far into physics, I'll just remind you guys that a calorie is literally just a unit to measure energy. And of course, the basal metabolic rate, like I said, is the amount of energy, or calories basically, because that's the unit, your body needs to maintain homeostasis, which means maintaining a balance where you're not losing or gaining weight. Hopefully that makes more sense. I know it can be kind of a lot.
So that'll work a little bit towards what you eat. If you're eating 2,000 calories a day, that doesn't mean you need to go to the gym for 2,000 calories worth of effort, because that basal metabolic rate is doing some work as well. Now, there are calculators online that can help you to figure out roughly what that rate is.
I wanted to be able to give you guys some examples and, of course, take my own advice. So I calculated my BMR on 2 different websites, and here are the results. I want you guys to be aware that it's not necessarily exact. The numbers might be slightly different, but this is so that you have a general idea of what to expect that your body needs based on just your general existence and your activity levels.
So you can structure your diet and exercise plan around your calories in and calories out using the food you eat, your BMR, and the calories you're burning exercising. If that seems way too overwhelming,
oh boy, my brain hurts.
There's an easier way to go about it. Figure out how many calories on average you're eating daily and cut it down by 100 or 200 calories. Go in small increments, and gradually you're going to start to notice how many calories you're cutting out that actually reflects weight loss. So yeah, you might be able to cut 200 calories out of your diet, and that puts you at a maintenance level. Add 100 more. Oh, there we go. The scale starts moving.
Progress.
That's an easier way to do it if you want to go that route, but it does not hurt to figure out what that BMR is. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they first start out, they're like, yeah, I'm doing the dang thing. I gotta cut out every single unhealthy thing in my life. I need to be at the gym 6 days a week. And 2 months later, they're exhausted on the couch eating pizza, and the idea of the gym seems like a living hell. I don't want that for you guys. What I would recommend is to start small with little bitty changes so that it's not so freaking overwhelming. Because keep in mind, that whole sustainability thing, that's where this applies. When I first started out, I realized that I was having 4 desserts a day. Because, you know, sugar addict, as you're well aware by this point probably. What I started with was cutting down to just 3 desserts a day instead of 4. Once I got used to that, I cut it down to 2 and then to 1. I'm never gonna be at none because for me, I wanna be able to eat everything in moderation, but I wanna be able to find balance and not have all that food noise in the background with every dessert being like, eat me now.
So delicious. It's hot, hot, so delicious.
So I'm still working on it. And lately, it's been creeping back up there. So I'm taking the same approach, especially with the holidays. Y'all know there was a lot of dessert. So I'm like, okay, maybe I was having closer to 2 or 3 desserts a day. Let me see if I can stick with just having like 1 dessert for lunch and 1 dessert for dinner and eventually cut that down. Take the same approach for everything with weight loss. You don't need to go to the gym 5 days a week starting out.
That was one exhausting workout.
See if you can start out going just 2 and see if you can manage that. Once that feels like, okay, I can totally do this, then look into adding something else. In regard to doing things small, that also should apply to your goals. So for example, I started at 271 pounds. My goal is 170 pounds. However, if I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my God, I gotta get down to 170, that is overwhelming and kind of makes me mad at how far things have gone downhill. And I'm like, I'd rather just eat like 400 desserts because I'm eating my feelings. Instead, yes, you can have your big goal, but break it down into smaller ones. Go month by month. You can say, okay, it's sorry, I'm like playing with my wig. I'm not used to having hair this long and it's fun. But you can go like, okay, it's January. I'm currently, well for me, right now I'm at 247 because some of that weight be creeping back up in the last year, so I'm getting back on it. But I started at 247. I'm like, okay, if I can get down to 243 by the end of the month, I think that would be a reasonable goal starting back out. Instead of thinking, okay, I need to have 6 servings of veggies a day. I don't actually remember what the recommended amount of servings is, but it's a lot. Whatever. Instead of being like a billion veggies a day, start with, okay, have I had a veggie with lunch? And just make sure you can achieve that. It's the same thing for your goals as it is for the things that you're starting out with. Like eventually, I think it'd be the coolest thing ever to run a half marathon or even a marathon or even 5K, honestly, but I need to start small. I want to see, you know, can I go a couple miles without breathing like a freaking dragon, like trying to catch my breath?
You said that was sexy!
Like, that's where you should start small for your goals. Chances are, as you get started, you may have never calorie counted before and might not even have a clue as to how much you're eating a day. I did a calorie counting video last week and it was very eye-opening because although I've counted calories before, if you don't check in with it every now and then, it's really easy to get off track and start overeating. And I realized that my peanut butter M&M intake was putting me definitely into the gaining weight range. It's also really eye-opening to see how calorie dense a lot of processed foods and desserts are so you can get back on track.
I found this chart online and thought it was a pretty good example. If you're eating 500 calories, yes, it's the same amount of calories, but what foods actually make up that calorie count is a huge difference. So I would highly recommend structuring your diet accordingly, especially if you are still hungry all the time.
For some people, myself included, keeping a calorie count 24/7 is way too rigid, and I fully understand that. I would just recommend doing it for a day or two at minimum, just so you can get a better idea of what's the norm for you, so you know what you need to change. Please, 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 do not forget about sleep. If you are not rested, your body does not have that time to refresh and to process things and to really just like do that overnight reset. Sometimes an hour or 2 can make all of the difference in the world. For me personally, if I'm not rested, aside from not being able to like process anything or regulate my emotions, like I turn into a cranky toddler, it's bad. But I also lose control of my impulses.
It's bad, y'all. If I'm tired and I see dessert, it's gonna be in my mouth so fast that I won't even have time to process if I want it or to think through any of the tools that I've learned in therapy for how to get past all of my urges for sugar. Get your sleep.
Plus, one of the things I actually learned from my doctor was that if you are not getting enough sleep, your hormones get really thrown off. I forgot whether it was either your hunger hormone, which is ghrelin, goes stronger, or the satiety hormone, leptin, like disappears.
Not that one.
But it's one of those. Either way, you end up hungrier when you're not getting enough sleep. Do your best to get some rest. I promise it is just as important as diet and exercise. I've spent the last few years being like a struggling student in a healthcare program, and the amount of stress that put me under, which also does not help with weight loss, FYI, kept me from sleeping, and it made things 1,000 times harder to lose weight because I was struggling just to keep my eyeballs open, let alone to like pay attention to what I was shoving in my face. So go take a nap.
But you'd never ask.
When you're first on your journey, you probably hear a lot about like diet versus exercise, and let me just tell you that both are important. Diet makes a bigger difference in exercise for weight loss. It's a lot harder to burn 500 calories than it is to cut back 500 calories.
So let's pretend that in your sleep-deprived state one morning, you go to McDonald's and then get traumatized by a frappe that is 490 freaking calories. McDonald's is looking a little rough right now. And here is a chart of the exercises you could possibly do to try and burn off that single freaking coffee. I don't know about y'all, but I am definitely not in shape enough to run for almost an hour straight. Your girl be struggling with running around the block, okay? It ain't worth it.
Obviously, don't overcut back. You need to still be eating healthy amounts. But the point being, you need both diet and exercise, and you can't really do one without the other if you want to have balance. You don't need to start off running like 10 miles a day. That's how you get an overuse injury, because I was walking 10 miles regularly at White Rock, and now your girl has tendonitis. It's a whole mess. Don't do that. Go small, build up. Start by maybe going for a walk after dinner, or when you go to the gym, just familiarize yourself with a couple of machines until you get comfortable with them. Bit by bit is really just the name of this entire game. But do get moving. You need to be active. You can start with like, hey, I can take the stairs. I might park a little bit further in a parking lot. Little things to get those extra steps in do actually add up into better fitness. All right, last thing. And honestly, I think one of the most important. Whatever you are doing, listen to your body. If you are miserable, it's for a reason. You might need to take another look at something that's affecting your mental health. You might be missing some extra nutrients in your diet. You might just be so freaking tired because you haven't slept in the last 10 years. That's me, in case you're wondering. But also, make sure you're paying attention when you're exercising. If something is hurting, it's not a no pain, no gain kind of situation. Like, yes, you can be doing some exertion because it should be challenging you, but if something's starting to hurt, that's your body's way of warning you that something is struggling and might be in danger of getting injured. My ankle started bothering me when I started doing all of those walks around White Rock Lake, and I did not listen to myself and just kept trying to push through it. Ended up with that overuse injury, which I am still dealing with and has caused me a ton more pain and money. It's a pain, literally and physically. Take time to make sure that you have the right form with equipment and that you're really checking in with yourself to see how you feel. Now, it is normal if you first start exercising to be a little bit sore, like the day after, maybe 2 days after. That's normal. But if you're so sore that you're like unable to move, you probably overdid it. You gotta find a balance. I hope that helps. I know for a lot of us, just starting off is scary. Just know that you're not alone. We're all at different phases of our journey. Please feel free to, subscribe, join the little community here. We're all just trying to get fit and healthy and love our lives bit by bit and day by day. And I would love nothing more than for you to have the same thing happen to you. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you lovely humans next time. Bye-bye.